Good evening. We're glad everybody could be here this evening. We're especially thankful for any visitors that might be here, and we just asked if you would to hang around and give us an opportunity to get to know you. Tonight I want to talk to you about a little bit about where there's opportunity for celebration, there's opportunity for disappointment. Now I know we've all pulled for football teams or soccer teams or something like that, and we're expecting big things out of them. For some reason or another, they don't accomplish their goal, and we're disappointed. We have disappointment. Somebody has let us down. Somebody that we were counting on has let us down. The fact is, where there's opportunity for celebration, there's also opportunity for disappointment. Where there's opportunity for love, there's opportunity for hurt. Some of us have been betrayed before. Only a friend can betray you. Enemies can't do that. We expect that out of enemies. We don't expect that out of our friends. Maybe for you it was a friend who got in business with you and things went pretty good for a while, and then somebody got greedy and looking for a bigger deal, and they wound up trying to take the business or trying to steal your money. Then you have a betrayal. Some of us have experienced that. Some of us may not. The fact is, someone who cannot keep their promises and cannot keep their vows are the ones that's going to betray you. Or maybe it's a child who waits for a mom and dad to follow through with some of their promises, such as, I'll play ball today, or we'll go fishing, or we'll do something together, and then we just keep putting it off and putting it off because of our busy schedules, and the child feels betrayed. Some children never even get to hear, I love you. And then after a while, they feel betrayed because they don't hear that. It's the promise not kept that's betrayal. It's the friendship that is broken that's betrayal. It's the lies we're told that's betrayal. Only our friends can betray us. Where there's an opportunity for love, there's an opportunity for hurt. You know, Jesus knew he was heading for the cross. It's early Friday morning, just after midnight, Thursday. We don't know the exact time, but Jesus was there with his disciples, now his friends. They came after him. Luke 22:47 and 48 says, while he was still speaking, a crowd came up, and the man who was called Judas, one of the 12, was leading them. He approached Jesus and kissed him, but Jesus asked him, Judas, are you betraying the Son of Man with a kiss? Judas had come to betray Jesus. Jesus had been under incredible pressure at that moment in the garden, and now one of his associates, one of his friends, one of the guys that he handpicked was going to turn on him. I wonder how Jesus felt. I wonder how we feel when we're betrayed. Judas was coming this time with religious leaders, some of the Pharisees, some of the temple guards, some of the soldiers. They wanted to get Jesus out of the picture. That was their point. Judas was leading the charge. All this begins a little earlier than what we're talking about. If we go back to Thursday evening, when the disciples were gathered together and Jesus was at the Lord's Supper in the upper room, there wasn't Lord's Supper, the Last Supper in the upper room. They're all gathered together to share a meal. Jesus tells them someone there is going to betray him. He looks at the 12 closest friends he has, and he tells them, someone here is going to betray me. Mark 14:17 through 19 says, when evening came, Jesus arrived with the 12. While they were reclining at the table eating, he said, I tell you the truth, one of you will betray me, one who is eating with me. They were saddened, and one by one they said to him, surely not I. The King James Version says, Lord, is it I? Mark records for us that Jesus said at the table, one of you is going to betray me. And they started asking around the table, Lord, is it me? Lord, is it I? And we kind of laugh and think that's in modesty, that they knew what was going to happen, and they knew Judas was going to betray them, and they knew all those things up front. But we'll see, we have the point of advantage. We have history. We know that it was Judas. We know he was the one going to turn him over. We don't have the picture they have, or they had. I can never recall meeting anybody that had the name of Judas. Do you? Do you know anyone named Judas? Or Benedict Arnold? Or nobody wants their child to be labeled as a betrayer. But the disciples were not doing this in false modesty. They really just didn't know. They didn't have a clue. And they were asking, Lord, is it going to be me? John probably said, when he was there, he probably said, I wonder if it's reflecting back to the time that, you know, Jesus, when we went there with folks and they treated you harshly. And then Luke 9:54, he says that, do you remember one time we was passing through a village? The people weren't very gracious to you, Jesus. And I said, we ought to think of something nice to do for these people, even though they didn't like us. We ought to do something. Just do something for them. That's not what John said. John said, Jesus, let's call fire down from heaven and wipe them out. John knew that he did some things that he probably shouldn't have done, and he was really worried about it. He said, you know, Lord, I love you, but I'll get myself in some situations that I might offer you up and not mean to. Think about it for just a second. Peter was bold, but he thought. You know, sometimes I get a little enthusiastic, and, you know, you have to rein me in when he pulled his sword. He was thinking about those things, I would imagine, and he was wondering about, was it going to be him? The thing that I notice more than anything else that I see, especially like in Genesis when you go back, the first thing Adam said is, Lord, you know, it's that old woman you give me. He didn't. He said he blamed it on the Lord. He blamed it on the woman, and God too. But in this case, they didn't blame it on. They didn't point fingers at one another. They wanted to know, was it them? Is it me? You know, and that's a good question for us. That's a very good question for us. Do we betray God? You know, sometimes we look at people, myself included, and we shouldn't. Well, they're just not that sincere. You know, they're not really devoted to Christ. They're not really interested in following you. But the real question I have to ask is, Lord, is it me? And we should be asking that question. Do we betray God? You know, sometimes we can get in a compromising situation and where we should stand firm. For some reason or another, we won't. Or we should follow through with some opportunity and we just choose not to do it. We desire to be cautious, and we compromise the word instead of telling the truth. Am I the one who betrays you? My words and my actions and my attitude? We need to think about that. Judas betrayed Jesus with a kiss. But it wasn't him alone. He wasn't the only one that betrayed him. All of them were involved in the betrayal. Matthew's account in Matthew 26, going at once to Jesus, Judas was greeting Rabbi and kissed him. Jesus replied. Now listen to what Jesus said. He said, friend, do what you came to do. Then the men stepped forward and seized Jesus and arrested him. Jesus called him friend. I could see him call him traitor. I could see him call him an ingrate. But he called him friend. Because only a friend can betray you. Judas was Jesus' friend. He was in the inner circle. He was picked by Jesus. He was one of the 12. Jesus decided to pick 12 of the closest men to him for the apostles. Judas was one of those guys. He was well thought of. He was put in charge of the money. He was a treasurer. He was probably one of the best educated of the group. Judas was a pretty respectable person. And he was Jesus' friend. He calls us friends. The Bible talks over and over that God desires for us to be His friend. Only your friends can betray you. Only your friends can hurt you. Betrayal is an inside job. It's mutiny. It's a violation of trust. It's done by an outsider, a stranger. It's not done by an outsider or a stranger. They can't hurt you. You expect that from them. What hurts you is when somebody that you love and care about breaks their word. And that's what Judas did. He counted on Judas. You aren't a victim of circumstance. It's not a random act when this betrayal occurs. Somebody betrayed you or you betrayed somebody. One of the two. Betrayal is an inside job. It's a friend who does it to us. It's an ugly word. Sandpaper kisses placed on the cheek. A promise is made with fingers crossed. You look to your friends and your friends don't look back. You look for the system for justice and you just find you're the scapegoat. You were betrayed. Bitten with a snake's kiss. It's more than rejection. Rejection opens a wound. Betrayal pours the salt in it. It's more than loneliness. Loneliness leaves you cold. Betrayal shuts the door in your face. It's more than mockery. Mockery plunges the knife, but betrayal twists it. It's more than an insult. An insult attacks your pride. Betrayal breaks your heart. Betrayal can only be done by those who are close to us. Guys, are we close to God? Do we do things or not do things that we know He wants us to do? I mean, like I said before, I don't think I've ever met anybody named Judas. I may have, but I can't remember if I did. But I met many people named Peter. I met several people named Matthew. People asked Peter, said, aren't you one of his? He said, no. He said, aren't you a Galilean? He said, no. Do you belong with Jesus? He said, no. He denied Him 3 times. But he told Jesus in the upper room, he said, that won't be me. I'm going to die with you. But now, Peter betrays him. Now, all the suffering that Jesus did, and He did a tremendous amount of it, I'm not sure that this didn't hurt Him worse than the other. Matthew records that the disciples all betrayed Jesus. They took off running. The crowds betrayed Jesus. Who was the crowds? That was the people like you and me. The ones that had regular jobs and had to pay the bills and families to raise. Just a week before, they had been celebrating Jesus as the Messiah. But now they were going with the crowd. Let's put him on the cross. Let's kill him. The kiss that was planted by Judas, the betrayal was committed by all. Every person took a step, but no one took a stand. Jesus had come to the garden with his friends to pray, and now he was leaving the garden by himself under arrest. It's done now. Peter and Judas both had been betrayers. Others have Judas' betrayal a little tougher for us to understand, because Judas actually went and premeditated and asked them what they would give him to turn Jesus in. They didn't come to Jesus and say, Judas, and say, I'll give you $1 million if you tell me which one it is. He went and told them, he said, what will you give me to turn him in, to tell you who he is? It was deliberate. It was planned out when Judas betrayed. Peter was probably some wrong choices he made. He got in a bad situation and he ended up making some wrong choices, just like we do in our everyday lives today. We get in some bad situations, we make wrong choices, and we do things that betrays Jesus. But there's a difference between Peter and Judas. Peter believed that Jesus could do something about the awful situation that he was in. Judas didn't believe that. Judas hung himself. Now I want you to think about this just for a minute, because Peter and Judas both loved Jesus. How do we know that? Judas, he just didn't know what, he couldn't consume himself. He was so sorry. And he didn't think he could be forgiven of it. He had done something awful and there was no way out of it. So he hung himself. Peter had faith that Jesus could do something about it. Even though it was bad, he had faith that God could work miracles even with him. And you know, we have people in this world right now, and they've told me, they've actually talked to me, man, I'm just too bad. God's not going to forgive me. Don't worry about it. He's not going to forgive me. There's no need of me coming to church. There's no need of me doing anything. How many people have told you that? The fact is, God wants to be friends with all of us. Look what Peter went on to accomplish in his life. Look what Judas accomplished. I wonder what he'd have become if he'd had faith in Jesus and what he could accomplish. You know, we probably betrayed Jesus one time or another. We said, I want my way regardless of what you want. Maybe your betrayal was thought out. Maybe it was premeditated. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe you got in a bad situation and you just made a bad choice. But I want you to understand that even though we betray Christ and do some things that we shouldn't do, He loves us. He loves every person. He wants everyone to go to heaven. The thing about Jesus that I really like, and we go over this in class a lot, is God don't make you do anything. You know, when Adam and Eve was in the Garden of Eden, the tree of good and evil, He said, what did He say? Don't eat the fruit. Did He build a fence? Did He put angels around it? Why didn't He? He could have. The reason He didn't was because He wanted them to make the decision. He wanted to give them the choice. He gives us the choice. He wants us to choose Him. He don't want to have to make us do anything. And we make mistakes, sure we do. We're human. But the fact is, Jesus loves us. And it doesn't matter what we do. Jesus will forgive us of it if we will choose Him and come back to Him. If you have a need tonight, we ask that you come as we stand and sing.